Hello there and welcome back. So today we're going to talk about feelings. And you're probably like, Amber, why are we talking about feelings if we're trying to rewrite our narrative and not be scared to be us? That sounds like we're going somewhere that's off the track. No, just me? Okay. Well, feelings, we've been taught so many different things about feelings, right? We've been taught that other people cause our feelings, that we cause other people's feelings. We've been told a lot that thoughts are actually feelings, which gets confusing. So today, what I would like you to be is open to a new idea, new concept about feelings. Because here's the secret. When you are willing to feel any feeling, when you have taught your brain that feeling any feeling is okay and it's not problematic, anything is open to you. Nothing is off the table. Because when you've learned that you can feel feelings, you can feel insecure, you could feel anxiety, you could feel depressed, you can feel rejection, you could feel failure, you could feel fear of all these things and still move forward. The world is yours. Anything that you want in life is yours because you no longer let feelings control you. You've accepted that feelings will be here. Feelings are okay. Feelings are a part of the human experience. My coach, Brooke Castillo, would always say life is 50-50. 50% uncomfortable emotions and 50% comfortable emotions. And it's our job on this journey to learn to be okay with both of them, the uncomfortable and uncomfortable. And when I say 50-50, sometimes it feels like 80-20, but it's like overall, like the arching view of life is that life is 50-50. Not seasons, not moments, not weeks, but the overall pendulum. So today, I want to teach you about feelings. So please be open to this new perspective. And of course, everything I'm offering you in this training is what worked for me. Not everything will work for you, but most of it will. Because you're different than me. We're all uniquely us, ourselves. So what I want to offer you is that feelings are just sensations in your body. They're just vibrations in your body. When you feel mad, you feel heat in your body. You may feel your body tighten. You may feel different things inside of your body. When you feel happy, you feel light. You feel, the sensations in your body are lighter. They aren't as heavy as when you feel angry or when you feel sad and disappointed. You may have like butterflies in your stomach. You may feel heavy. You may notice that your breathing is increasing, but nothing else happens. Like feelings are literally inside of your body. They're just sensations in your body. You have a thought, it creates a feeling. The sensations in your body is a signal that you're having a feeling, which is a signal you just had a thought. Why I'm going slow with this and why I want you to understand this is because sometimes we believe that feelings are the end of the world, that we cannot feel that way because we will die. The reasons why we feel this way is that our primitive brain has spent so long trying to protect us from these uncomfortable emotions that it like initiates our fight, flight response, like our nervous system response, fight, flight, freeze. So when we feel these uncomfortable emotions and our brain's like, you're gonna die, get out of it, stop it, buffer, avoid, reject. That's normal. That's what your body and your brain is used to. But what I want to open you up to, the idea is that feelings are not a problem. They're actually okay and welcome, and they're just sensations in your body. So that when your brain starts to freak out, you can recognize and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is when my brain freaks out because it feels like we're being rejected. And our brain doesn't like that feeling. But I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to drop into my body and I'm going to feel these emotions. I'm going to feel these feelings. And if that feels really uncomfortable, which it will for quite a while, probably for most of us, it was hard for me. Short little side note with my one-on-one coach every week. I was like, Amber, this is another lesson of learning to feel your feelings. You have to drop into your body. But why, Tasha? I like being in my brain so much better. I can really see things up here. She's like, yes, but it's causing a lot of things in your life because you're not dropping back into your body. And feeling your feelings. You're like avoiding them by trying to outthink your thinking. I was like, yeah, that's me. So that's why I know that this is so important because I've done the work of learning to sit inside my body. One of the hardest feelings for me to sit through is fear. Fear of failure, fear of even success, ironically, fear of asking for what I want out of life myself, fear of pleasure, because so long I've associated myself with not deserving of pleasure, not deserving of enjoyment, that I had to always be working. And if I wasn't always working, then I wasn't deserving. So any of the fear, right? Anything that made my chest get tight, my heart start beating faster, my breathing starts being increased, and I have like a bazillion thoughts going on in my head. So what I want to offer you is that these are okay. They're not a problem. And so far in your life, you've actually survived every feeling you've ever felt. Just as evidence that you can, and it is possible. So how do you learn to feel your feelings? How do you learn to drop back into your body because you've spent so many years not doing it? What I recommend is like for a week, just take note of like the top 3 feelings you've noticed that you're feeling and what do they feel like and write it out. Another hard one for me was anger or agitation or frustration. I hated feeling annoyed. I hated it so much I was snappy. It made me a snappy teacher. It made me a snappy mom because I didn't like feeling annoyed because I didn't feel like I should be annoyed and I didn't feel like it was okay to be annoyed. So I had to learn to sit with that. When it came to like body image and self-image, I had the fear of rejection. I had the fear of not belonging, the fear of not, always being enough. So I had to learn to sit with those feelings. I had to learn to sit in those uncomfortable feelings of discomfort, right? And I had to learn that my brain has a nervous response. So I'm going to break those down for you real quick. Our brain has a nervous response system that gets triggered. And sometimes it gets triggered quicker for other people. If you have had trauma, if you have insecure attachment, small things will seem to really make you have a big reaction. So the first one is fight. Fight looks different for different people. Fight could be actually physically fighting with people. Fight could also just be arguing with people. It could be using your words to justify, to argue, to deny, to offend, defend yourself. Freeze means you just shut down. You're not going to talk about it. You're not going to do anything to deal with it. You're just going to shut down. Flight is where you just leave the situation, you avoid the situation, and you go away. I typically shut down. I notice that when I feel uncomfortable feelings, I just shut down and I don't want to talk about it, which has a lot to do with like insecure attachment. When we feel like somebody's rejecting us, we either over engage trying to reinitiate connection, or we totally put walls up and we shut down. So I had to learn when my body and my brain was enacting my nervous response system. And I had to learn to pause and feel my way through it. The reason why I'm sharing this with you today, and you're like, how does this relate to not being afraid to be yourself? Because you've been afraid so long to be who you are. You've rejected so many parts of yourself for so long that becoming you and being seen as you now will feel the feeling of fear. But what I want to offer you is that it doesn't have to be so scary. It doesn't have to be so fearful, because I'm going to teach you that you can feel any feeling and you can survive it. So even though you feel fear, you don't have to be afraid to move forward. Even though you feel fear of being seen, you can still be seen, because it's just a sensation in your body. Sorry, I got a notification. So what do we know about the human brain? The thing is, our body knows our unconscious thoughts. We think about ourselves, and it is going to want to do anything it can to avoid hearing all the inner harsh thoughts we think about ourselves, so that we stay small, we hide, we stay stuck. The brain is just trying to protect us, so it makes us want to play small, be quiet, be invisible, so that we don't have to open up ourselves up to the hard feelings that our brain tells us that other people will make us feel. These uncomfortable feelings are rejection, shame, failure, insecurity, inadequacy. So we have to start practicing feeling feelings so that our brain doesn't freak out by uncomfortable emotions. And this takes time, it takes practice. If we want to learn how to feel comfortable inside our skin, inside our head, and inside our soul, we have to learn to feel uncomfortable feelings and let it really be a part of our life, and that not something to avoid or not to do. So once we do that, right? Once we learn to feel our feelings and knowing that our feelings aren't a problem, knowing that it's our thoughts that create our feelings, and we learn to validate our feelings and sit with our feelings, we show our brain that we are dependable. We show our brain that we take care of ourselves and that we show up for ourselves. And what this does is it creates a secure base inside of you, aka confidence. But even deeper, for those of us who suffer, fight, experience insecure attachment, depression, anxiety, we've spent so long looking outside of ourselves for approval, validation, acceptance, that we haven't been trusting ourselves. We've been telling ourselves that we're not capable of feeling feelings, that it's too hard to feel these feelings. So now what we're doing is we're rewiring our brain to show it that we are capable of feeling feelings and we can feel our feelings, and we're going to show up for ourselves. And when we do this, we develop a secure base. So this next part is about having a secure base. Self-confidence is an inside job. It comes from the thoughts you choose to think. Self-confidence is not proved by evidence outside of you. Do you need me to say that again, or do you got it? Self-confidence is not proved by evidence outside of you. It's all created by your thoughts. When we look for evidence outside of us, that's called experience. Self-confidence comes from our thoughts about ourselves. The thoughts we choose to think over and over again become thought beliefs, which become core beliefs, which I've said in the last training. The human brain has been wired and trained to look for evidence of our self-worth and value outside of us. That's why we seek approval from others. We want others to like us. And if they don't like, or if they don't, then we tie it to our value. We say that we aren't good enough. So what we have to do now is we have to deconstruct that. The deconstructing of seeking approval outside of us, the deconstructing of validation outside of us, and we have to learn to give it to ourselves. To develop that secure base inside of ourselves, that security within us, We have to learn to give ourselves approval. How do we do that? We just give ourselves permission. You are allowed to give yourself approval. Stop waiting for the universe to give you a stamp of approval, because it never comes. And if it does, it comes in waves and it comes in inconsistently. But what you can offer yourself is consistent approval, validation, and appreciation. You are allowed to give yourself validation. Not only are you allowed it, it is something you really deserve right now. It's something that you no longer have to get from other people, and you are allowed to give it to yourself. So how do we do this, Amber? How do we develop a secure base inside of us? Learning to practice thoughts on purpose, giving yourself approval, validation, giving yourself mental and emotional compassion and grace. What does this look like? I created these terms, mental and emotional compassion and grace. It is knowing that these different thought patterns, these old behaviors, these old beliefs are going to come up, and it's okay. That's where the compassion comes in. It's okay that they come up. But now we're going to respond this way. We're going to talk back to our brain. We're not going to let our brain keep telling us thoughts that are not serving us. When it does, we'll be like, okay, cool, you're here again. I knew you'd show up sooner or later, but we're not doing that anymore. We're not going to judge ourselves for having those thoughts come up. We're not going to criticize ourselves. We may want to be a little curious and be like, hey, why is this coming up right now? What thoughts am I thinking? Curiosity goes hand in hand with awareness. And with curiosity, you can go so far. Judgment and criticism of yourself is what stagnates your growth. This next one is so important, so important. Say we make a decision because we're deciding to show up for ourselves. We make a decision and it doesn't go the way that we planned. What it means to show up for yourself is that we don't beat ourselves up over the decision we chose. We decide to give ourselves grace and compassion and be like, we made that choice for a reason. We liked our reasons and it's okay. It's okay that it didn't work out. Sometimes in life, it just doesn't work out. But we're not going to spend time beating ourselves up over the decision that we made that's already in the past that we already did. We're going to be like, yo, that's awesome. I tried something. I took initiative. I made a decision. I liked my reasons at the time and I went for it. And it didn't really pan out the way that I wanted to. So I'm going to make another decision. I like my reasons and I'm going to move forward. And we're going to keep doing that until we get to where we want to be. Things may come up. We may want to change our mind and it's okay. We're allowed to. We're not going to beat ourselves up anymore. We're not going to be that harsh inner critic, always on our own case. Okay? It's going to be hard, but we have to learn how to be our own cheerleader. And I'm not really like, woo, woo, rah, rah, cheerleader. That's not what I mean. I mean, if that works for you, go be that for you. Whatever it needs to be for you, do it. What I mean by that is I now allow myself to look at myself unbiasedly. I ask myself questions out of curiosity. Why are we choosing this? Are we choosing this because it's what we want, or are we doing this because it's what other people want? Okay, yeah, we're doing this because other people want us to, but we're not going to beat ourselves up over that. We're going to notice it, and then we're going to ask, do we want to move forward? We may not. So we may just resend that yes. We may say, no, thank you. You know, I considered all options and that's not the way I want to go. We have so many patterns inside of us that are happening automatically that we may not always show up the way that we want to, and that's okay. We have to show up for ourselves in those moments and be like, you're human. You're allowed human days. You're allowed human experiences. Things don't always have to be good. You don't always have to have the perfect response. Thought work is not the tool to constantly use against yourself. Okay? And I say this because I've done it to me. Once I learned all this stuff, I was upset because why do I ever feel any negative emotion? Why am I stuck right here? because you're human and it's okay. We don't have to create things all the time. So choosing to show up for yourself every time, giving yourself what you need from anyone else. So my clients are like, Amber, how do I show myself grace and compassion? Well, I'm constantly mentally giving myself grace and compassion because I'm noticing my old thoughts and I'm not making it mean anything about me. I'm constantly noticing when my primitive brain is being reactive and I notice it. I apologize when it is appropriate, but I also don't beat myself up for being human. That's the compassion part. That's the grace. Um, I also really practice taking care of myself, prioritizing time with myself, doing the things that bring me joy and happiness. And sometimes it's things I want to do alone. Sometimes it's with my family and my kids. But I don't beat myself up for wanting time alone. I don't beat myself up for doing the things that I want to do before the dishes get done, before the laundry's done. I really learned to choose how I want to show up. And then if I choose how I want to show up and I like my reasons, then I do it. Because at the end of the day, I have to be okay with me. That's it, no one else. So knowing and believing you are enough exactly as you are today. Yes. I know you came to this training because you want to change yourself. You want to change maybe how you see yourself. But even before you do all of that, you are inherently worthy exactly as you are. You may have goals that you want to lose weight. That's great. You do you, whatever it is you want to do. But right now, as you are, you're worthy. You may have got this training because you're tired of being in the same job that you want to do something new, but you're afraid. You're afraid of taking the leap of faith. That's okay. You're allowed to be. So one part that I realized as I am doing this training that I didn't do is talk about other people's opinions of us. So I'm going to pause this end of the slide right here and I'm just going to talk really briefly. Other people's opinions about you does not matter. Other people's opinions about you are none of your business. The sooner we can believe that, the sooner we can practice that, the sooner we are able to really understand that we are able to live our life for us and not other people. When we are constantly comparing ourselves to others of what we think they think about us, that's holding us back. And that's what creates the fear and that's what creates the dissonance, is that we are constantly thinking about other people's thoughts about us. So as you begin this journey of truly becoming who you are, I want you to know that every time you notice yourself comparing yourself to someone else or thinking they're going to think this about you if you do this, I want you to write it down. Write it down. And then ask yourself, is this serving me? It's probably not. Ask yourself, is this true? It's probably not. And ask yourself, do you really even know this? Because so often what happens is that we have thoughts that we think other people are thinking about us, but it's really us thinking those things about ourselves. So if we're thinking other people are thinking it about us, just put it in the model as that's what you think about yourself. And what feeling does that create? What actions do you take when you feel that way? And see what this thought is doing to you. So when you go out there and you be brave to be you, you're going to want to compare yourself. You're going to want to believe your brain's thoughts about what other people are thinking about you. But you have learned so many tools in this training to be able to talk back to your brain and remind it that we're not doing that. We are not thinking about other people's thoughts about us. Because one, it's none of our business. Two, it doesn't matter. And 3, it's holding you back. It's keeping you from being you. One of my favorite things that a life coach said to me, and I can't tell you which one, I think it was Simone Soul. She said, there is an amber-sized hole in the world that only you can feel. So go fill it up being exactly your authentic self. So I want to say that to you. Go be you in this world and go fill up that hole that was exactly meant for you, for all of the qualities and skills that only you have. Personality, whatever it is, only you can be you in this world. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at amberlynn@takingbackherbrain.com, and I will answer every email I get. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.